pay very close attention because today I'm going to demonstrate a very important strategy that I use countless times, hundreds of times, if not thousands of times. It works and it keeps repeating itself. So pay very close attention, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how the fib strategy works with a real example that I used and where I made a ton of money, and a lot of people watching this show made a ton of money with. So pay very close attention. Let's get on to it. This is a very special show, and after this strategy is inside your head, you will be able to chart and understand how crypto works a lot more. So let's get on to it. There's no time to waste. Firstly, here we are on Padre. This is the best platform, okay? Absolute best platform to chart and to do these strategies. So let's get on to it. Let's start. Here we are with Troll, and I'm going to demonstrate this strategy, which is very important. This is the trend-based fib extension strategy. This is the one I use every single day. You see me do these Fibonacci lines a lot on my show to try and guess tops. And this is the best tool to predict where a chart with momentum is going to top. The absolute best one. All the pros use it. And I'm going to explain to you with a real life example how it works and how you can do it. So here we are with Troll. This is a chart that we entered here at 3 million market cap, and we sold the Pico top, and we sold and intertraded between these fib line extensions over months, and still to this day it still works. So let's get on to it. First thing you do, open the chart. You need to identify where the move of the chart starts. You need to identify where the top of the chart is and where the correction bottom is. Okay, so basically you need start of the move, top, support. You need those three things, and then the trend-based fib extension is going to tell you where you can sell, where the tops are going to be, and it's also going to inform you support lines, resistance lines, things that happen maybe 2 months in advance that are not happening on the chart right now. So let's do it. Here we are. We click right here, trend-based fib extension. I put a start because I'm always using it. So the start of the move, it was right here at 118. The candle close here at the top was 9.47, and then the bottom of the move was 3.85. First thing we do is we lock the chart. Okay, lock it. Then you come on tools, opacity. You can diminish the opacity. I'm going to increase because I want you guys to see it. And then right here you put extend lines to the right, and you're going to have a background. You're going to remove the background completely, okay? And it's on these settings. And then the color, I usually leave the color white because white is easier. The first thing, let's say we're here, the chart is at 4.95, and we entered the position because we saw that it bounced and formed the bottom. The first thing we do is we identify the 1.6 fib line extension. This is one of the most important things on any chart, is the 1.6 fib extension line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the 1.6 fib line extension as a possible top, and then I'm going to mark the top of the fib, which is the 4.2, also very important, and I'm going to leave it like this. These are the two most important things on these fibs. The second most important one is the 2.6. I'm going to leave it marked with a different color, yellow, and I am going to reduce the opacity a lot. Okay, these are the three most important things when you plot a fib. So let's say you're on the trade and you enter right here at 4.5. You already know where a very likely top is going to happen. So it continues, the trend continues, it's in your favor. Let's say you had a very tight stop loss here at 3 million market cap. You already see that it's not going to hit. Where do you sell? Bam, you sell right here. How much did you profit? On average, 4.5. You could have made a 4x. You could have multiplied your numbers by 4 times. It actually went and pumped a little bit higher, and the second top usually is the 2.6 fib line extension that I put in just a little bit of yellow. So here's a very interesting strategy. If you don't want to sell 100% at 1.6, you should always sell 80%, okay, at least minimum 80% at the 1.6 fib line extension, and then leave 20% for the 2.6 fib line extension. In this way, if the chart is more bullish than not, you can make an extra percentage on top of your 80% gains. But you should definitely, on the first pump, always dump everything in the 1.6 and the 2.6 fib line extension. And these charts work better if they're meme coins that pump, say, to 10 million, 5 million, and then correct quite a bit. And so let's see what happens. Let's say you sold everything at the 1.6 fib line extension. I'm going to tell you beforehand what happens 9 times out of 10. The charts always correct 45 to 50%. So you could expect a 50% retrace back to 9.5 million market cap. Let's see if that happens. Let's say you sold everything at the 1.6, you didn't leave 20% to leave at the 2.6. Let's see what happens. And we already got hit here at 10 million, but the chart continued. This continued to act as resistance, and eventually we had the breakdown, and here we are at 12 million market cap. So from the top, let's look at the candle close. From the top, we have a wick of 60%, and then here we have a bottom at 56%. So you had basically 2 perfect entries below 50%. Usually from the top, they always dump 50% 50%, minimum 50%. So essentially here, the top, you could measure the wick, but I prefer measuring the candle close. This was the top. This was your exit. Your exit was 1.6, the 1.6 fib. Then you wait for a top to be formed and you wait for a correction and you just wait for that 50% dip. Look, from the candle close, if you look at the 50% dip, you almost nailed the bottom to perfection. So usually wait for a 50 to 45% dip measuring from the candle close of the top. But on the fib line extension, the most important thing you need to understand is you should sell 80% at the 1.6 fib extension. If you want to be a little bit more risky, leave 20% at the 2.6 exit, see where the top is, plot 50% below and just wait for it to get hit. 9 times out of 10, that 50% retrace will happen, almost always. And usually it happens deeper than 50%, but at 50% you get a good re-entry. So let's say you re-entered this. Oh, and by the way, the dip was where the previous wick from the first momentum wave was, which is another sign that it's a dip. But let's say you re-entered here. Where can you exit? Obviously, if you re-entered here on the 50% dip, you already know that your profit takings are probably going to be the 2.6 line or the other line that is very important, which is the 4.2 line. And so now you're going to apply the same logic. You're going to sell 80% at the 2.6 and then you can leave 20% for the 4.2. If the meme is good, if there's momentum, if everyone's talking about it, I think you can leave an extra 20% for the 4.2 fib line extension to be hit. And so, okay, you got your 50% retrace, you entered, you sold here. Look at how the 2.6 line acted as resistance again. So you sold your 80%, you left 20, and there you go. You could have sold your 20% here. It didn't exactly touch, but it went very close. You don't need to be extremely precise on these things, okay? This is trading, this is crypto, so you could have sold your other 20% very close to the 4.2 line, and then we can zoom out on the chart and let's see what happens. Very interesting. Now, look at how the chart has been behaving based on these fibs. The 1.6 line is still very, very important. It's still a fair price. If you look at the medium price of Troll, it's where the 1.6 line is. If you want to re-enter Troll, what you can expect is the 1.6 line to turn into support. Look, I think it's going to turn into support here. If it does, you can re-enter and you can expect the 4.2 line to get hit again. And you can trade again this and make an extra double on your money. Another thing you can do with these fib line extensions is, let's say it's the 13th of June. We already saw a bottom here formed at the 0.7, right around the 0.7 line. We saw the 1.6 line get broken again. So you can expect another bottom to be formed there. And there we go. You see sideways action. What you can do is, oh, I want a quick scalp. You can re-enter where you had a previous bottom and you can just quick scalp this thing back into the 1.6, which is probably going to act as resistance again. And you can get a 70% trade. There you go. Went very close, or you could be more exact way here. You could have sold here the 1.6 and then it retraced. Then it went and broke above. And as I was saying previously, you can use now the 1.6 as support. This is very likely going to turn into support next. And you can start using the 4.2 as your exit strategy. So these fib line extensions don't just serve for like the first 3 momentum waves. You can keep using them. You can keep them there so you can orient yourself and try and understand where you have tops, where you have bottoms. For example, the 2.6 line acted as perfect resistance here. So eventually the 2.6 line is very likely going to be support. It was perfect resistance here. Let's say we get a pump to the 4.2, you sell. Where do you want to enter? Right here. Maybe this is the perfect entry. Then you re-enter and then you can resell. So you can keep using these lines as resistance and support lines. But the most important thing about the trend-based fib extensions is where is price going to go? You have to understand where the 1.6 line is. You have to understand where the 4.2 line is. So you understand where the pico top of a momentum wave is. And what you have to do is you have to sell in batches. Usually the 1.6 is where you should sell at least 80% of your bag, okay? And if you do this on literally any chart out there, it's probably going to tell you tops very precisely. But anyways, if you guys want to trade using these fib line extensions, you should do this on Padre. There's a link down below. This is the absolute best platform to do it. As of now, they even have P&L trackers. You can click down here, P&L tracker, everything is modular. You can have your watch list right here at the top. You can trade it for anything you want. There's also the trenches place where you have recently bonded, almost bonded. If you use the same exact filters that I taught you on previous videos, it still works. The difference is you can be more precise with Padre because you just have more filters to add and you can even do more customization. If you like Axiom, you can click on Moxie layout and you can leave this exactly like Axiom if you just like the visuals. But anyways, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Very important to understand these trend-based fib extensions. You see me using them a lot and I think it's time that you guys used it. I think you should try and backtest other memes, try and backtest these fibs, mark the 1.6, the 2.6 and the 4.2, and you will see these 3 are usually tops, their bottoms and their main resistance points on almost every single chart you can plot out there. Anyways, thank you very much and I will be seeing you guys on Monday.